All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. It's now official. Bob Melvin was introduced today as the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. The World Series is set. Rangers will take on the D-backs starting this Friday in Arlington, Texas. And NFL news of the day, Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol. He's likely out for this weekend's game versus the Bengals. I want to die. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, Jon and Jim. Andrew Baggerly broke the news with Dennis Lin that Bob Melvin was interviewing with the Giants, granted permission by the Padres. He'll join us coming up in 5 minutes. Jim, you know the meme, everything is fine. You know it because you invented memes.
Yes.
Fire around like the little dude. Who is that dude?
It's a little dog there. It's a little dog.
Did you call me Darren?
I almost did.
No, not almost. You did.
I did.
So everything's fine. I mean, Bob Melvin, your manager left for a division rival for the second time in the last however long.
Everything's fine.
Juan Soto, they've had preliminary talks with the Yankees about moving him to New York per Andy Martino. Padres have no manager.
Yeah.
AJ Preller today was reflective on the state of the organization, almost taking some level of accountability, saying, I need to do more. No, dude, you actually probably need to do less. So Melvin to the Bay official, Padres interviewing Mike Shilton, Ryan Flaherty, who knows who else. Andy Martino reporting today at SNY that the Padres and Yankees have had at least a preliminary talk on trading Juan Soto. And happy Wednesday, San Diego. We're going to talk about it for the next 3 hours.
I'll take, how could this offseason get worse for 400, please? Since we were talking about Jeopardy yesterday.
It's not last year they were still playing, basically.
I know. They were, I think it was game 5 or game 4, and there was still a glimmer of hope. And now it's all gone.
And now even AJ said it today, and we're going to hear from Bob Melvin on his time in San Diego, why now is right. And again, Andrew Baggerly is going to join us from The Athletic in a couple of minutes. But it's even Preller today admitting, he's this is a big offseason for us. He said that. And he said now the first order of business is we need to find the right candidate. It's crazy. This is the 4th time in 6 years that AJ Preller is going through this process. 4th time in 6 years, Jim.
Right. Same old from Preller today. Nothing new.
I didn't think it was the same old. I really didn't. I thought he took some accountability. I think he was reflective. Yeah, I thought it was very different. I really did. I think he realized he's partly responsible, was my takeaway from watching that for 40 minutes. That he's partly responsible for this mess.
Well, I hope you would think that, because he is. He's a big reason why. I just think hearing him talk about what he needs to do and what he wasn't doing for the past couple years, you get these reports out, and I loved how Dennis was I know you love to discredit anonymous reports and kind of stopped AJ Preller in his tracks. But the last 3 years, we've gotten the AJ Preller is this micromanager. AJ Preller gets involved too much. AJ Preller sticks his head where he shouldn't be doing, and that's a problem. But yet today, what I took away from it is, okay, so AJ Preller's realizing he needs to do more, because he even mentioned that how the last couple of years he didn't feel like he has done enough as far as the everyday, I guess, duties go.
With
So
the
if that's
big
the
league, with the big league club.
yeah, because we know he takes all of his time to scout and do all of that, but that stuck out to me as a wait. So you think, so first off, you think you don't do enough, yet you're described as a micromanager, yet you're coming out today saying that you need to do more, in turn saying that you need to micromanage more.
But
Is how I looked at it.
But isn't that also so? I think you're kind of agreeing with what I'm saying. It's like, do you often hear AJ Preller say, "This is what I've done wrong," even if he's off base? Wasn't he saying like, "Hey, I'm accountable"? How often do you hear AJ Preller say he's accountable? He's done it a little bit here recently because this was so disappointing. But to me, it was almost like now maybe he's looking down the wrong
Well,
lane.
he also mentioned today how great it is to work in that organization and how so many people have already contacted him about
Jim,
the managerial job.
He's the president of baseball operations for the Padres. He's not going to criticize his own organization.
No, but that's also, to me, when you can spot out the lies and spot out the non of truth. Like, okay, AJ, bro, it's not good there. We know it's not good there.
There are others saying it's not good there.
So don't tell me it's good when it's not.
Well, yeah, I do see that to some extent. I think what I learned today was Preller realizes whatever he said today, he realizes a lot of this is on him. What I also learned today is Bob Melvin said a lot without saying anything at all. By not mentioning the Padres in his introductory statement, by talking about a narrative, we'll get into that coming up. Bob Melvin did not take a lot of time on his experience in San Diego, which is all I need to know. That's what you need to know about his time in San Diego.
Well, I'll get to some things that Bob said. Okay. There's some things that I didn't like.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. But again, for the Padres, they are starting over. And again, we'll see what happens from here on out. We have Andrew Baggerly with us from The Athletic. He broke this story along with Dennis Lim. Bob Melvin granted permission to speak with the Giants last week. Now Bob Melvin is the next manager of the San Francisco Giants. He's with us right now, Jon and Jim, on San Diego Sports 760. Andrew, we appreciate your time. When you look back on how this has transpired over the last month, Gabe Kapler out at the end of the season, was this always the plan? Was this the grand plan for the Giants? Did they feel as if they had a realistic shot to land Bob Melvin all the way going back to September?
Well, they didn't know, but they knew that there was a possibility that he could be gettable. I mean, I think, we all sort of read what Dennis Lin, Ken Rosenthal wrote about the Padres situation toward the end of the season, knowing that, perhaps they would let him out of the contract. Perhaps they'd even let him go. But I think they realized that he was such a perfect fit for where they are as an organization, what they need, and who he is, that they had to sort of keep it on their radar screen. And I think it did sort of loom over the entire pursuit, over the entire interview process. And ultimately, the Padres granted permission. They had to go through their process as well. They didn't grant that permission until Saturday. And that's how fast this happened. Saturday night is when they granted permission. Sunday, he was Zooming with people in the front office. Monday, he flew up here and met with the ownership. And they announced it as soon as they could. They couldn't announce it yesterday because it was a postseason game, but they announced it today. So, yeah, definitely you can tell there's just a lot of positive energy around this franchise. A lot of people very excited to welcome Bob Melvin home. The guy's been in uniform for like 40 years. You'd think he'd seen everything and everything's sort of ho-hum by now. But, he just has a total sense of wonder about buttoning up that Giants jersey and being a Bay Area guy. So, yeah, just an absolutely perfect fit. And they had to consider it. If it was at all a possibility, they had to keep that on the front burner.
Andrew, you reported that the Giants didn't view the Padres' disappointing season a reflection on Bob Melvin as a manager and the dysfunction here with the Padres. Why didn't the Giants view it as such? And what do you think that they viewed it as themselves?
Yeah, I think they framed it as, look, we're judging this guy by his body of work. And even Hall of Fame managers will have seasons that go off the rails. And, I think they're not obviously going to say this, but, if some of the dysfunction was happening above him, it's going to trickle down regardless. And, he really didn't want to sort of adjudicate everything that happened last season, did say he enjoyed his time in San Diego. But again, knowing that Farhan Zaidi worked with him in Oakland, knowing that he's been, a Giant before. I mean, he knows everybody. He played with, Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper, who are the announcers here. There's so many people that can give a character reference on him that the way that Farhan described it is, recency bias really isn't as important as just knowing who this person is, knowing his entire body of work, and he's as decorated as they come.
Andrew Baggerly from The Athletic with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Andrew, in your opinion, could the Padres have prevented this from occurring by extending out Bob Melvin?
Well, I think they could have prevented it from occurring by just declining permission. I mean, it is a lateral move. They don't necessarily have to, grant the permission. I think there was a thought process that they probably would, because, if they do want to make a managerial change, this allows them to not pay him $4 million he's owed, and it allows him to go to a division rival. And I think AJ Preller might have said just in the last day or two that, there was no compensation going Oakland's way when they hired Melvin away from Oakland with a year left on his contract there. So they just sort of saw that as quid pro quo, I guess.
Andrew, going into next season for the Giants, it's, this offseason, signing big time players, signing talent, I'm sure is going to be like a priority for them. With Bob Melvin there, do you think that only helps their cause? And could you see a scenario, because Blake Snell is a free agent out there, where he could end up wooing guys like Blake Snell, or I know Shohei Ohtani is a target, of course, for the Giants. Like, could this help the Giants, in fact, get the talent that they're looking for?
I mean, potentially, but really the big reason that sort of I would say yes is because they dropped some other news today, and that was that they are in principle an agreement to extend Farhan Zaidi through 2026, which would mirror up when Melvin's deal would expire, and that's big news, because Farhan Zaidi was going to be a lame duck director of baseball operations, and there was going to be some question among agents, among free agents, who's calling the shots. Are they going to be, just another 75 win season away from a total front office overhaul? You really do question how stable this organization is, and they immediately sort of stabilized themselves with sneaking that news into today's announcement. They didn't want it to make about Farhan. They wanted today to be all about Bob Melvin, but they recognized, hey, this is too important a message to get out to the industry, to the league, that Farhan's going to be the guy calling the shots going forward. And I think that Melvin is going to be maybe a moderating influence on him, and maybe a thought partner. Whereas, I think Gabe Kapler was all in on being disruptive and being, very analytics driven. And Melvin, of course, will be, I think, receptive to all of that as well. But, I think he also just recognizes what it means to compete and putting your faith in players and staying with a hot hand sometimes and getting away from a game script. And all of those things, I think, are going to be more fan friendly. I think there's a lot of fans who were really just bored to tears by watching the Giants play, even when they were winning. So, I think all of that is kind of a signal that, hey, we're going to make sure that this product is more entertaining and maybe more sustainable.
Well, if the 2022 or 23 Padres are any indication, they're going to look completely different than the 2023 or 2022 Giants, because the Padres make very few moves. I mean, Bob Melvin makes very few moves, or has at times throughout his tenure in San Diego. Andrew Baggerly, The Athletic, with us right now on Jon and Jim. Now, we've mentioned Farhan Zaidi. A lot of our listeners know he worked, obviously, with Bob Melvin in Oakland. You've referenced it as well. Do you know the type of relationship that they had over their time in Oakland? I assume with them reuniting, it was a productive one. What do you make of their previous relationship?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, Bob was obviously the manager. Farhan was an assistant GM. I think he was, very much introducing a lot of concepts to Bob. And, the game has changed in a lot of ways. I mean, you saw just the other day, Merrill Kelly was rolling and they took him out and he was not happy about it. Mm-hmm. Teams just run games a little bit of a different way, especially in the postseason. The problem is the Giants tried to, play 162 games like every game was a postseason game. And you just can't do that. You wear people down. In fact, I was stunned when I looked up that no Giant started more than 117 games last year. And yet they all just look worn out and tired by the end of the year. So, I do think that there is a hang with your boys type of mentality that old school managers have. Bruce Bochy was certainly that way. And there are times that guys would reward him for it. I mean, I remember, in 2010, Edgar Renteria looked absolutely cooked, and he came back and he was the World Series MVP. And Bruce Bochy just knew he had more in the tank and more to offer, more experience. And then other times, you play a guy over and over and over, and you expect a turnaround. It doesn't happen. So, but I don't think the Giants have had the personnel to be able to match up with everyday guys in their lineup. The Padres certainly do. They've got a lot of star firepower and guys you definitely want in the lineup every day. And I think the Giants' challenge is going to have more lineup continuity so that Bob Melvin can, pencil guys in every day.
Andrew, does this feel like deja vu to you? The same situation, Bochy 15 years ago, going to the Giants from the Padres. Now Bob Melvin going to the Giants from the Padres. There's problems in the management side of things to allow this to happen. Is the feeling of like this is deja vu here?
I mean, it's there are a lot of parallels, that's for sure. And they're even both former catchers. A lot of different parallels. Both people who are just very highly respected for just how they communicate, how they believe in their players. It's obviously a lot of parallels will be drawn. I just think for the Giants in the position that they were in, they could not have hired anybody with the kind of credentials that Bob Melvin has. And I go back to, just sitting in the same ballpark, going to the Bruce Bochy press conference. And at the time, people weren't super excited in San Francisco about Bruce Bochy. They saw him as maybe a retread or just an uninspiring hire. But Brian Sabian, I remember, had a gleam in his eye that day. And he said, we hit the jackpot. We got the right guy. And we're almost shocked that he's available. And he just knew. He knew something about how Bruce Bochy ticked and about, just what kind of energy, what kind of, I guess, sort of gravitas or swagger, whatever you want to call it, that he would bring to that manager's office in that dugout. And obviously 3 World Series later, maybe a 4th World Series later, right? With the Rangers. I guess they were right.
Yeah, and the problem for AJ Preller right now is, like you said, how are you going to do better in San Diego than Bob Melvin? And this is going to be a real sell for the Padres moving forward, and they're already in flux, obviously. Payroll, Juan Soto's name is being brought up in trade conversations as well. Andrew, great reporting on this story. We've enjoyed it here from San Diego. Thank you for your time today. We know it's busy, and we appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, of course. Good talking with you. Thank you.
All right, good talking with you. Andrew Baggerly from The Athletic. All right, let's hear from Bob Melvin.
It sounded there like everybody in the Bay Area is jumping through the roof. That the feel inside of the Giants organization is, oh my God, they actually allowed us to go get Bob Melvin. Those idiots. We love Bob. Bob's awesome. This is great. He's the best manager ever. That doesn't feel, that doesn't, like, if you're a Padres fan, you're sitting there hearing all of these glowing things that are coming out of the Bay Area about Bob Melvin and the organization talking about Bob and how he's this great manager, and hearing Andrew Baggerly there. Like, they are ecstatic to have Bob Melvin in there. Imagine you're sitting here like, what the hell?
Right. Like, how did you miss so badly, where you were the one to initially, you pulled off what the Yankees couldn't do. You were able to land Bob Melvin from the A's. The Yankees tried to do it a year earlier.
Yeah.
Giants couldn't do it. And now 2 years later, you're left holding the bag. And Bob Melvin is on his way to the Bay. Is it going to work? We'll find out. All right. This is Bob Melvin earlier today. Interesting back and forth. A lot of narrative talk. Bob Melvin on leaving San Diego for San Francisco. Take a listen.
Yeah, Bob, this is Danny Emmerman with KNBR.com. Why was this job with the Giants a better job for you than San Diego?
Look, I really don't want to get too much into the San Diego situation, other than the fact that I really enjoyed my time there. Some things transpired last year in a difficult year for the team with high expectations. I think there was a narrative at the end that probably wasn't going to go away with me being on my last year of my contract. And I think as far as that organization goes, it's probably not fair if that narrative continued through, next year. So all things considered, this opportunity came about, and for all the reasons I stated, this feels like the right one for me. But I very much enjoyed my time in San Diego. It just seems like, with a lot of things that were popping up there, it just was time to move on.
Bob, you were part of the narrative too. Like, you were also a reason why things happened. I'm not putting all the blame on you, but you also were a part of it. The narrative issue there, I don't like those words, because it's like you're almost not blaming the media, but you're blaming something. When you say narrative, it almost seems like a dirty word. Like, oh,
yeah,
your
like it's
narrative,
not true.
it's not true. That's not true. Exactly.
Mhm.
And that's how I kind of felt when he said that. And I didn't like that, because it's like, dude, Bob, we know that you were also to blame in this as well. Maybe not to the extent that drove you out, because if Preller's the one that drove you out, but you also were a little bit of you were a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is his 5th manager job. Like that's a ton of jobs. And this will be his 3rd team in 4 seasons. Oakland 2021,
Different
San Diego
circumstances.
22-23, San Francisco 24. Like, but to your point on if he was part of the problem, I think if you're in San Francisco, you're probably on cloud 9 saying this is the home run that we were hoping for.
Yeah.
We'll see how much of a guarantee it is. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, there's good and bad.
They
I've
have to
said
get
it for 2
players.
years with Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
Like, he is not a perfect in-game manager.
No, but he's the best manager this Padres team has had since
Bruce Bochy.
Bruce Bochy. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that guy's a Hall of Famer and going to his 4th World Series, or 5th World Series. Excuse me. No, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5th World Series.
Correct.
Yeah.
One of them in San Diego.
Yeah. So
yeah, here's the thing. I would never put all of 2023 on Melvin, but I also wouldn't say that Melvin wasn't somewhat responsible for 2023.
absolutely.
But there's so many factors, and it starts with AJ Preller. And
Right.
that's what the Giants are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're putting it more on the Padres than we are him,
Exactly.
and that's why we're bringing him in.
Because they believe Melvin is, telling the truth as far as like, hey, the problems in San Diego, you might have been a little bit a part of it, but it was the root cause of it was AJ Preller.
Yeah, and his track record is a good one, and they saw it firsthand in the Bay Area. All right, Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, with his perspective, where do the Padres go from here? Is it down to Schilt or Flaherty, or will they look outside? Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, he's going to join us next. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. SG Sports Talk channel with his Niners logo for Jim. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Guys, if you would like to become a member of the channel, you can click the join button down below. If you want to contribute and support with the super chat, you can click the $ below the chat box. We get to all of your super chats at our breaks like we're doing right now. Please subscribe if you're here. We have year-round content for San Diego sports fans. Smash the like button for us as well. Thank you, SG Sports Talk channel, for becoming a member of the channel. So again, you can become a member. Please subscribe, smash the like button. Thank you for the super chats. We'll be with you until 6 o'clock here tonight. And thanks for hanging out. Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, joins us next. John Ireland, by the way, voice of the Lakers, will join us at 4:30. Thanks, guys. Kyle Glazer from Baseball America, his thoughts on Bob Melvin back to the Bay, plus where do the Padres go from here in their managerial search? That's next.
This update's brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. It's official today. Bob Melvin was announced as the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. Padres are now looking for their fourth manager in the last, 6 years? 5 years? I've lost track. Moving over to the World Series, it is set between the Rangers and the D-backs. Game 1 will be this Friday in Arlington, Texas. And the 49ers, they're possibly going to be without Brock Purdy this weekend as he is in concussion protocol. I want to die. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, from Andrew Baggerly at The Athletic to Kyle Glazer from Baseball America, his perspective as the Padres will hire another manager, Bob Melvin, on his way to the Bay. Kyle, we always appreciate your time. I guess I'll start just with your reaction. I mean, I'm assuming it's not that much of a surprise. He had 1 year left on his deal. What is your reaction to Bob Melvin spending just 2 years in San Diego and leaving for the San Francisco Giants today?
Yeah, look, this is a huge loss for the Padres. Bob Melvin's one of the best managers in baseball, and for whatever issues fans might have had with some of his decisions, the fact remains that the Padres' only 2 full winning seasons under AJ Preller have come with Bob Melvin at the helm. The Giants got better today, and the Padres got worse. It's as simple as that.
And when you look at, we've talked a lot about the blame, right? Who do you blame? Who do you put this on? I feel like it's both of them share equal blame, but where do you put the majority of that on?
Yeah, I think blame's maybe not the perfect word. What I would say is, very clearly the working relationship was not what either party, the front office or Bob Melvin, wanted it to be. I do think ultimately the brunt of that falls on the front office and them knowing what is the manager's domain versus what should be their domain and needing to know what that separation line is. I think the front office and general manager AJ Preller crossed that. But you also have to keep in mind that Bob Melvin, look, this is an opportunity for him to go back to the Bay Area, which is his home, play for the team that he played for and grew up dreaming of playing for, working with an executive he knows he gets along with. It's also understandable for him to feel like this is a better fit for him, especially with the way things have transpired in San Diego.
Kyle Glazer with us right now from Baseball America. Does a great job covering all things major and minor league baseball. Has a great, unique perspective on the Padres as well. Where do you think the Padres go from here? Not where you would go, but where do you think they go? Is this going to be an internal hire with Mike Schild or Ryan Flaherty?
That would be my expectation, but it's important to keep in mind that AJ Preller doesn't always do things by the book or what expectations are. So I think it's important to let the process play out. I know everyone wants an answer today, right away, who's the Padres manager going to be. But we still need to let the process fully play out because sometimes people emerge from unexpected places late in the process.
Kyle, as we're talking rightfully so about the Bob Melvin and the Padres don't have a manager, a story that popped up earlier today that could impact this team way more than the manager is that the Yankees and the Padres, according to Annie Martino of SNY, said that they're having preliminary discussions on a potential Juan Soto trade. How devastating would that be if the Padres ended up trading Juan Soto?
It would certainly be a huge loss. There's no question about it. I will say this, that there are always casual discussions about any number of moves that can be made. Looking at it on the surface, truthfully, the Yankees don't really have the pieces that would make a Juan Soto trade very appealing for the Padres, at least in my opinion. Some of that would depend on if there's money involved or how they would play that. But when you look at pure prospect packages the Padres could potentially get for Juan Soto, the Yankees are not really one of the top 5 teams in terms of what they could potentially offer. So let's see how this plays out. There's lots of casual discussions that happen. I wouldn't jump the gun and say, oh my gosh, this is happening.
What do you think it would take to get Juan Soto? I mean, he has only 1 year left on his deal. They're not going to get a package like they traded away a couple of years ago. What do you think Juan Soto would get right now if you traded him in the offseason?
Yeah, you can still expect to get a pretty nice package. I think minimum you start with 2 top 100 prospects and, maybe a third guy who's in a team's top 10. I do think this is still a player with the way he finished out last year, especially is one of the premier hitters in Major League Baseball who can transform a lineup and is going to be highly coveted. So I do expect the Padres to be able to get a good package for him, even if it's not identical in size to the package they gave up to get him.
Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, is with us. Do you expect, Kyle, the Padres payroll to come down? And is that why we're hearing even preliminary talk conversation regarding Juan Soto?
Absolutely. The Padres have to get into compliance with MLB's debt service rules. And look, the fact that Bally Sports San Diego no longer exists is a cut to their potential media money, which is a significant part of any team's revenue stream. So they are going to have to cut payroll. We'll see exactly what that number is, but there's no question. You look at, Blake Snell and Josh Hader being free agents, Juan Soto potentially making potentially $30 million in arbitration this year. There's a lot of talented players that may not be back next year because the Padres likely have to make some cuts to their overall payroll.
Do you think the Padres have the necessary talent in the organization right now to fill the holes and the gaps next year to compete? Or do you think that they're going to have to go out and try to sign players with not a lot of money or make trades?
Look, you're never going to fully replace the NL Cy Young Award winner, Blake Snell. You can't fully replace the production Juan Soto has to offer. I do think the Padres have some talent in their farm system that reached AA last year that could come up and help. They have a glut of infielders. They really should trade one of them, whether that's Cronenworth or if they have to bite the bullet and trade Ha-Seong Kim, which I don't think anyone wants, but they have, 5 middle infielders and not enough positions to play them. So they do have some opportunities to make some trades. They do have some opportunities to give some young players a chance. And maybe the pieces will fit better potentially next year if they do that. Again, the Padres issue is not lack of talent. The pieces perennially don't actually fit together under AJ Preller for the most part. So if they can make the pieces fit a little bit better, this team still has a chance to be competitive, but there's going to have to be some trades, some young kids stepping up. And, they're going to have to find a way to fill some of the holes in that pitching staff that are departing.
Kyle, I'm going to put you on the spot. If the Padres are looking externally as potential managerial candidates, is there a name that would come to mind or two? We know about our internal candidates potentially being Flaherty and Mike Schild. Is there a name or two from outside that would make sense from your perspective?
Yeah, Benji Gill with the Angels, he did a really magnificent job managing Mexico in the World Baseball Classic last year. He's a native San Diegan, bilingual. He's played in the majors. He's coached. And he brings a lot of fire and energy, which is something that this team very, very sorely lacked last year. I think that any team that hires him is going to be better for it. He's a manager on the rise. Again, there's always, questions about first-time managers, but I think with just his pedigree as a player, as a coach, and what he did in the WBC last year, he'd be someone worth at least exploring and potentially taking a shot on.
Kyle, we appreciate it. Actually, one more, Kyle, before you go. What are your expected contracts for both Hader and Snell in free agency? What are they looking at?
Hader's going to try and get an Edwin Diaz type deal, that 5-year, $100 million plus. I think there's a very real chance he gets it. Blake Snell, look, he's now a 2-time Cy Award winner. I think he's definitely going to get, over $100 million, whether that's 120, 150 or more. Again, that's going to depend a little bit on the team, what else happens in the starting pitching market, who gets Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and how desperate a team is to fill a rotation spot. But both of them should get $100 million plus contracts in the 5+ year range.
All right, that should be easy for Seidler.
Easy.
That's fine. That's not a problem.
That's fine.
No, we're kidding. You don't expect it. I mean, will they even make an offer for either?
Again, that's going to come down to the Padres looking internally at their financials, what their debt service obligations are, and then only they know the true dollar number they stand to lose from Bally Sports San Diego going under and MLB taking over the broadcast. So it's really just going to come down to when they look at their books and see what they have to do and make a determination from there.
Kyle, great stuff as always. We appreciate you taking time. We know it's busy with the World Series about to start, and we appreciate you doing it.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime, guys.
All right, Kyle Glaser from Baseball America.
Padres got worse today. Giants got better. And it's a bad move by the Padres to let Bob Melvin go.
Right. There's no other way to spin
That's
it.
what Kyle said.
And there's no way to spin. It's not like, hey, we did it. Now, from the organization perspective, they might think this is best. Yeah. They weren't seeing eye to eye, front office and manager. Yeah. So organizationally, they might be fine with it. They granted the interview. So they're obviously not like, oh my gosh, it's the worst loss in franchise history. But from the outside, yeah, the look is, you got worse. And that's exactly what Kyle Glaser, who covers the sport for a living, said to us. More of your reaction. We'd love to hear from you. Where should the Padres turn now? Plus, Andy Martino, SNY, Juan Soto to the Yankees. The preliminary talk has already occurred between the Padres and the Yankees. This would go from bad to worse, potentially. But your reaction and where do the Padres go from here? 844-570-1360, 70470. Start your message with team. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will join us. Lakers opening night is tomorrow. You can hear it on San Diego Sports 760. He'll join us at 4:30. A lot to get to. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Is Juan Soto actually available for the right deal? Andy Martino at SNY reporting that. Plus your calls, 844-570-1360. Where do the Padres go from here? That's next. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will join us coming up at 4:30. Your reaction to Bob Melvin to the Bay. Where do the Padres go from here? By the way, 3 Aztecs will make their NBA season debut tonight. Kawhi with the Clippers, Malachi with Toronto, Jalen McDaniels with the Raptors as well. NBA is back. Warriors lost. All is good. All right, let's go to the phone. Let's go to the phones. There's a lot to react to. Melvin to the Bay. Andy Martino, SNY, saying for the right deal, the Padres are interested potentially in moving Juan Soto. Excuse me? I mean, we've known it's a possibility. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's start with Dave, who's been holding for the last handful of minutes. Dave, you're on with Jon and Jim, and thanks for calling in.
Well, thanks for having me once again, guys. And, it's too bad that we have to keep talking about the same crummy stuff over and over, but that's thanks to your AJ excellence there. So, all right. Let's talk about Juan Soto real quick. First of all, I have no idea who this Martino character is. I've never heard of him, so forgive me on that. The question that you need to ask is, have the Padres met with Scott Boras, and have they talked contractual offers with Mr. Boras, and are they at a point now where they've made a decision that they can't come to an agreement this offseason with Soto? If that's the case, then you've got your answers about what's going to happen next. That's first. Second, John, today you said that you thought that AJ was a little bit contrite and a little bit apologetic, whatever you want to call it.
I did.
John, he's been here for 9 years. How many more years of training wheels do we need to put on AJ before he finally understands that the problem is in the mirror here? You can continue to try to extrapolate whatever contrition that he is trying to say there, but it was nothing more than a bunch of typical AJ psychobabble pablum that we've come to expect here. So, the ultimate question that wasn't asked today, correct me if I'm wrong, no one asked, did you ever offer Bob Melvin an extension? And as I said to you guys yesterday, if the answer to that is no, that is a de facto firing. And all this
the
nonsense about how we met.
The answer is no. Thank you,
Bob,
Dave. I first of all, I'm not saying that because he was contrite, extend him to a lifetime deal. I'm saying that's what I thought he was showing. And they didn't offer him an extension. How do I know it? Because he left.
Yeah.
So unless he said no, which is also realistic, but they didn't. This is a gentleman's agreement. This is kissing your sister. They both wanted out.
Kissing your sister?
There's no winners.
Oh.
There's like, this is a tie. This is a tie.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob wanted out, best for him. Padres wanted out, best for them, and they both move on. That's what this is. That's what they wanted. Now you could argue that the Giants are the winner because they get Bob Melvin, but from the Padres organizational perspective, they didn't want him. Clearly,
I do think hearing Bob today talk about the situation in San Diego, or what? How did you refer
San Diego situation?
The San Diego situation. The San Diego situation, and hearing from AJ, and how this was not going to work out, dude. Next year would have been insane if both of them returned. It would have been crazy.
Everything would have been overanalyzed.
They lose 4 in a row. Yep. It's, oh my God.
Lost in extra innings.
Are they going to fire Bob?
Yep.
What's AJ going to do? It would have been a disaster. I would have chosen Bob over AJ. And frankly, if that's the only thing that we could have done is choose one or the other, I would have blown them both. I would have got rid of them both. And I've said that, like, maybe just get rid of them both.
Now's the perfect time. That's
like,
what have we been saying?
Just get rid of them both and start clean and fresh. And you have two guys that couldn't get along, and one guy who has never gotten it right here in AJ. So just start clean. Just start clean, move along, because if you keep one or the other, it's going to be difficult.
Guess what they're not doing? Starting clean, because AJ Preller has spoken out of the media twice in October. Let's go back to the phones if you want to weigh in. 844-570-1360. Where do the Padres go from here? Where would you like to see them go from a managerial perspective? 844-570-1360. Drew, thanks for calling in. You're on with Jon and Jim.
What's up, guys? Huge fans.
Thanks, man.
I really think this sets us back about 4 to 5 years. I mean, it seems like what could happen is, we hire a new coach. We don't do well for the next year or two. Finally, Sadler comes to, conclusion and fires Preller with the coach. Then we get a whole new regime. That regime probably needs another year or two to rebuild, retool. I mean, within 4 years now, you're talking Manny Machado, Xander's 4 years older. Tatis is now early 30s. I mean, Soto, we don't even know what's going to happen with Soto. I mean, this Melvin thing is like the first, chapter of this offseason. Soto is going to be a whole nother debacle, next week or two. So that's just what kind of seems like happening to me. This seems like this could set us back another 4 to 5. And it really hurts. What do you guys think?
Well, thanks for the call. Drew. Thanks, Drew. I don't think losing your manager sets you back 4 to 5 years. I don't. Because a manager, like what happened in Texas, like it accelerated everything. And he was the final piece, and boom, the Rangers are in the World Series. Bruce Bochy is a huge reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think a manager can set you back 4 to 5 years, because you can easily just go and find one, and hopefully that works out for you. What I do think sets them back potentially, to your point, Drew, is the fact that they're going to be cutting so much money, and they still need to build out a roster with way better depth than they had this year, with not a lot of resources, and a top-heavy roster, aging, getting older. That is where the potential setback could happen. I don't know if it 100% will, but if you're talking about this or that will cause a setback, I would put the setback potentially happening way more on the problems with the money, the debt, the top-heavy roster, no depth, than the manager.
Plus, and they could get the manager wrong, which is something they've done previously as well.
He's very good at doing that. He's very good at doing that.
Let's sneak in a couple of calls here. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. Scott, thanks for calling in. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I think all AJ wants is a puppet that he can put in there and manage, and Bob Melvin wasn't going to be that guy. The other thing I wanted to say, and then I'll listen to your comments offline, we had another AJ here quite a bit ago that fired a coach that went 14-2. And this guy, same AJ, fires a coach that basically had a winning record for us, took us to the NL, almost to the World Series last year. So I'll listen to your comments offline. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, AJ Smith and Marty Schottenheimer after they went 14-2.
And that's the setback theory. Well, you know what? If you move on,
it's a little different in football.
It is. No, I agree. I'm one that believes the general manager is more important than the manager, but I'm also someone that believes that a manager matters.
Yes.
So do I think, to your point, do I believe, like Drew said, you're going to be set back 4 or 5 years? No, but could it be a setback in general? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something we're going to be talking about. What's 4 years from today? 2027. But are we going to talk about it in 2024? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. This town has a knack for one or the other type of situations after success when it doesn't need to be that way. It's like, you guys can't make it work. You guys succeeded. You can't make it work.
Right.
And then it's a one or the other. And more often than not, almost 100% of the time in this town, it's the wrong choice. Like the wrong person leaves town.
Should we get to this call on the other side, Brenner, right now? Other side? All right, we're going to get to you on the other side. If you're on the phones, you can stay right there. 844-570-1360. We want to hear from you. Where do the Padres go from here? John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, their home openers tomorrow night on San Diego Sports 760. He'll join us at 4:30. We've got a giveaway for you in the 4 o'clock hour. We're reacting to Bob Melvin to the Bay, and the Padres once again searching for a manager. Stay with us. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next. JD Gaucho, thank you, my man, for your support of the channel. We do appreciate it, guys. If you're here, subscribe. Year-round content for San Diego sports fans. Thank you for the super chats. We get to them during our breaks. Click the $sign below the chat box, like JD Gaucho did. He says, looks like Helix High and UCSB alum Miles Norris made the Atlanta Hawks opening night roster to a contract. Hope we see him play this season. I will not be watching Hawks tonight. I'll tell you why. Because I would have been watching Hawks Hornets if Nathan Mensah was still in the Hornets, but they released him. So I won't be watching the game. What I will be watching is the Spurs because they're on national TV. Jim sneezing. Lord, I don't even say bless you to Jim. He sneezes constantly. What else are we watching tonight? What's the first game of this doubleheader on ESPN? Bucks. JD Gatch, I'll be honest with you. I don't know much about Miles Norris. I know nothing about the Hawks. Celtics next. But we'll be watching Wemby here tonight. Kawhi, Malachi, Jalen McDaniels. Thanks for the super, man.
I want to answer this question in the chat from Johnny. He's in the World Series. Who cares?
Come on, Jim. Poach's bullpen blew an 32 saves.
Who cares?
Yeah, they also won, 90-plus games and they're in the World Series. So would you rather win the World Series? Who cares? I mean,
oh, no, they blew. I'm sure that's the first
and by the way, a lot of blown saves typically are also good because of that situation. Like, sure, I bet the Kansas City Royals didn't have 32 blown saves because they didn't have 32 late leads to blow. So I think that's an overrated, exaggerated stat. The only stat that matters is winning World Series, and Bruce Bochy's done a lot of that. All right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes, guys. Please subscribe if you're here. Thank you for the super chats. We get to them during breaks. Hit the like button for us, and thanks for hanging out with Jon and Jim.
All right, this update's brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. It's official. Bob Melvin. He is the new manager of the San Francisco Giants, as he was introduced today in the Bay Area. The World Series is set. Rangers and D-backs start this Friday in Arlington, Texas. And the NFL news of the day, Brock Purdy, he's in concussion protocol. It's likely he'll be out for this Sunday's game for the 49ers as they take on the Bengals. Come on down, Sam Darnold. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will join us at 4:30. We're reacting to Bob Melvin to the Bay and the Padres managerial search. If you wonder why I often say Jim's an idiot, you should join us on YouTube, all right? Search for Jon and Jim 760. So Jim is very proud of his brand new Prime Blenders sunglasses. You need to turn your mic on to speak on the radio.
I can't see around here.
Right, good.
I got them last night.
I forgot. You now remember, folks. Jim, of course, is a CU alum.
Yeah,
actually played. I think you were a tailback for 2 years. Then they switched you to defense.
Yeah,
and he's got a lot of pride in that program.
I do.
Of course, him and Dion go way back.
We do. Yeah, he.
Right.
I did
exactly.
Yes. Yeah, it's all because of me. Everything that Dion has accomplished is because of me.
Why don't you should wear those tomorrow? So we're going to be at this top of the key Aztec ring ceremony event tomorrow. I think you should wear those tomorrow to the Aztec event.
So I ordered these. By the way, Blenders, local company, John. I support local. So
that's great. And you also support the Buffaloes.
If you're saying I support the Buffaloes, you also have to say I support local San Diego products.
Okay.
I got these before the Colorado State sunglass thing.
You were the first.
Well, no, I ordered them, and then like 4 days later, Colorado State coach comes out and calls out Dion for wearing sunglasses indoors, and I was like, oh boy. So I got these last night. They're pretty awesome. Like, you could say what you want, fine, whatever, but they're pretty cool sunglasses. They came with a really cool like Prime case with the blenders on there, and they came with like a cool like Prime like.
Do you have a Jim promo code or anything?
Blender, like a Blenders thing there. I wish I had a promo code. I got the black pair of Primes. They're pretty sweet. So yeah, I like them. They're awesome.
844-570-1360.
Why do you everything I do, everything that I'm doing insane in my life, you're like, yeah, nobody cares, you're an idiot. All right, moving on.
No. First of all,
844-570-1360.
First
you're
of all,
an idiot.
All we talk about is like your glasses, your back.
We do?
Yes. When have you ever asked me anything about my life?
I ask you about your life all the time.
On air?
Yeah.
When?
Like probably yesterday. Like
I legit had a heart attack.
I know.
And you made fun of me.
No,
but if I make fun of you for putting glasses on inside, then we make fun of you a lot. 844-570-1360. Let's go back to the phones. People want to weigh in on the Padres. John Ireland's going to join us at 4:30.
Prime glasses.
Exactly. I think a majority of the listeners would probably prefer we talk about the Padres.
I agree. You can't see me. You can't see me on the radio or the iHeartRadio app, but you can see us on YouTube. But other than that, yeah, you can't see what I'm wearing.
Vito, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. First of all, before I get to my comment, I just want to say I've called in 3 days in a row, so I think I'm officially qualified as a co-host now.
I like
Jon, Jim, Vito sounds good.
You're hired.
You're hired.
And John will fire me.
Right.
really quick though, about the Zoom press conference. My takeaway was kind of, AJ saying, basically he needs to exert more control. And he referenced 2020 and 2021. 2020, you can't really count. That was such a short season. You can't really base this decision off that season. And 2021 was such an epic disaster. To me, for him to bring up those two seasons was really, really just odd. And I don't know how that makes sense to Peter Seidler and all. Like, yeah, let's allow AJ to have more control and based off the results of these two seasons, which one of them was a historic collapse, according to him. So, yeah, I guess I just have to accept AJ around for another season. I guess a way for me to accept it is just to see who he ends up hiring as the manager. All right, guys, that's all I got.
Thanks, Vito.
Appreciate
co-host of the
Co-host
Jon,
Vito.
Jim, and Vito show. Yeah, I didn't really understand that either. 2020, like Vito said, it was such a weird year that I feel like this organization and franchise put so much stock into how the future was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, guys. It's a 60-game year with no fans, and you play like one other division. You don't play half the teams in baseball.
You like wear masks on field. The whole thing was weird.
Like, they won a game that year as the home team on a walk-off home run in San Francisco. That's just how weird that season
I don't
was.
even remember that.
It was a Trent Grisham walk-off home run in San Francisco because they were technically the home team. I don't know why they were technically the home team then.
I don't remember that.
But I do remember that because of how weird and wacky it was. So to put all this stock into 2020 to me just seems so foolish as an organization. And then, like Vito said, 2021. Did you watch 2021, AJ? Because that was a disaster, and it was a front office versus players situation at the end of the year where there was like a revolt happening in that clubhouse because they couldn't stand how Jace Tingler was pretty much essentially an extension of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to go out and get Bob to try to get some credibility back in the organization, which you did, and which you did nationally and locally. And then you won, and then you blew that relationship up because of differences between you and Bob. Yet Bob is the only manager that you've ever hired and had that has won. And I found it interesting today when Dennis asked the question of, did you make the final call on Bob? Because a lot of things we think about is, hey, I said this yesterday. You were
saying he said he did make that. It was his idea and it was his hire.
And then when asked, are you going to make the final call on the next manager's hire? And he completely went to, it's an organizational thing, it's a collaborative thing. So wait, what? That didn't make any sense to me.
They do seem a little bit like a rudderless ship right now. Like, we're not hearing from Peter, and it's understandable because of his health. We've heard from AJ twice. The one time we heard from him, he said Bob Melvin was going to be back, and then he has to backtrack that 2 weeks later. So it's a weird organization right now. And he was asked repeatedly also, like, do you feel the pressure of 2024? Because, like, you haven't been winning. And, like, do you have to win in 2024? And he went down this whole 2020 path. Well, I spent a lot of time with the team in 2020. Yeah. I'll do that more in 2024 because we really need to win in 2024. Well, didn't you need to win in 21 and 23 too? It's very odd. Let's go back to the phones. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. Todd, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, guys. Yeah, hey, thanks for the time.
Yeah.
I actually am glad Bob Melvin's gone. And if you give me a little bit here, a little room. This is the most disappointing and underachieving season, maybe in Major League history, definitely in Padres season. We had high expectations, and it was a disaster. And everybody, including AJ, Peter, deserved criticism and so forth. But who was the manager of the most disappointing season in maybe Major League history? It was Bob Melvin. And if you watch the games like I did, it looked like he quit with like 2 months left in the season. I mean, obviously he did not inspire the team to win. And most importantly, the reason why I'm glad he's not here anymore is because he did not want to be here. I mean, he chose a really poor, weak, giant roster over the roster that we have next year. So to me, that proves that he's not into winning. He just did not want to be here. And please stop comparing him to Bochy. Bochy has taken every team he's ever managed to the World Series. And to my knowledge, Bob Melvin's never been to the World Series. And like I said, he was the manager of the most disappointing season in Padres history.
Todd, good call.
Thanks for the call, Todd.
Yeah, and Melvin said today, we both heard it immediately, said there were times when I was managing at Oracle with the Padres where I'd look over to that other dugout and envision myself managing the Giants. Oh, that's an interesting statement to make.
Yeah, I think it's a really good call there, Todd. I think because that's the first kind of like pushback.
Yeah.
Maybe not the first. I've
We
seen a lot
both
of it on
said
social
he
media.
wasn't a perfect manager.
No,
I do think he's
yeah.
a good manager.
And I kind of agree with you there a little bit. Like the most disappointing season in franchise history, who was the manager? Yes, it was Bob Melvin. There were a lot of other things in play and a lot of other factors to make it the most disappointing season in Padres history. It wasn't just Bob Melvin, but yeah, what do you say? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. When you're the leader, it falls on you.
To his credit, he did say that after the Kevin Acee article. He's like, listen, it's my team.
Yeah.
And I feel bad that the players are having to stand up for themselves. At the end of the day, I manage them.
Mhm.
And this is as much, I'm responsible for this team's performance. He flat out said that.
And I don't think anybody's comparing Bochy or Bob Melvin to Bochy. It's just the similar situations of a manager for the Padres who was successful in San Diego, allowing to leave the organization to the San Francisco Giants because there was problems between the front office and the manager. And it's the same situation here. Like no one's comparing. Bochy's probably the best manager in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Bob's not, but I don't think anybody's comparing the two and saying that they're equal.
I mean, it is like if there's an elephant in the room with Bob Melvin, and any Padres fan, I think, would agree to this, who's watched the last 2 years. There's two things. In game, it's left a lot to be desired a lot of times. And maybe that's because we watch every single game. And I'm sure every manager is second guessed all year. But there were a lot of those. And then B, he hasn't won in the postseason. Now, you could discount it, as I've done, as people have done, and say, well, it's a little different in the postseason. And there's factors at play in the short series. But he hasn't won in the postseason in his career.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't won in the postseason. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to have to do that. If Bob Melvin retires, bringing the Giants to the postseason 2 of the next 3 years, 3 of the next 4 years, whatever, but doesn't get to a World Series, that's as much of the legacy of Bob Melvin. Hey, this great credentialed manager that never once managed in a World Series. I mean, I think that's a pretty significant part of the story. If he manages for 25 years and doesn't manage in a World Series.
And what Bob said today in San Francisco about, yeah, when I was managing here at Oracle Park and I would look over across the field, I was thinking to myself, man, I wish one day I could be over there and be the manager. And he even mentioned that he would talk to some of the coaches, and some of the coaches would be talking like, oh, maybe one day. Who do you think he's talking about? Matt Williams.
Right.
Matt Williams, who grew up in the Giants organization and was a huge, huge player there. I had a problem with that because that's something you can't say. You cannot say, yeah, well, I was like, if I was like Jon doing this show, right, for the next 2 years. And I'm thinking to myself, man, these last 2 years, I've been looking at this job the whole time and I wish I was working there. Like, no, dude, you should have said, or the mindset should have been, look, maybe when I first started managing, I looked at that job and saying maybe one day, but it didn't really hit me until I had this opportunity maybe a couple weeks ago, thinking to myself, oh, wow, that opportunity is something that I don't think I could pass up. Not that while you were in season managing, you were thinking about potentially one day being the manager over there.
That's a good point. Like a day one of the Jon and like J Riff show, I'm not going to be like, man, this is great, J Riff, because for the last 2 years since I started working with Jim, I was always hoping we would work together. And here's like, that's a kind of
you don't
pretty
say that. You don't
rude. And now again, he's this established veteran. It's kind of the way he says things, he can kind of just say it. He's so professional and buttoned up, like literally.
But he kind of just
Melvin
also says a lot.
He kind of doesn't care, I feel like.
Yeah. Because I remember the first day Bob was here, I even remember asking AC about this, the difference between Jace Tingler, who said nothing because Preller told him not to say anything, to Bob, who kind of just spoke candidly at times. And the difference is there.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that from Bob. I really didn't. That's kind of a little bit of a slap in the face, I think, to the players in that dugout and to the fans to an extent, how you were thinking about potentially managing the Giants while you were still managing the Padres.
Right.
Like, that's not a good look, dude.
Dude, I think March 28th, home opener for the Padres after the 2 games in Korea, I think it's very weird. I think
I do
March
too.
28th is really weird. You got Bob Melvin in the visiting dugout against like the Machados and the Tatises and the Bogarts. It's all very
And
weird.
Mike Schilt.
It's very, very odd to me. And by the way,
sorry,
I was going to say, to kind of, as important as this Bob Melvin thing is, there's also Ruben Niebla. We'll get into that. But there's also Juan Soto, and you could obviously say Juan Soto's got more of an importance for the Padres moving forward than Bob Melvin. You could make that argument with Ruben Niebla, by the way, as well. But Kevin
read
Acee,
this quote.
About
read the
the Soto quote from AC is a report out of New York on Wednesday said the Padres and Yankees have had preliminary discussions about Soto. We've been talking about that. He then writes, however, a Padres source said the sides have not talked this offseason. 2 different sources said previously the Yankees were among the teams that had expressed interest in Soto before the trade deadline. How about this line? And it was fairly commonly known within the organization that Melvin favored moving Soto. What?
Huh?
So Bob Melvin, off his year plus with Juan Soto, there was a known belief in the organization that he'd prefer to part ways with him. Why?
Yeah, I don't get that one.
And what does it say about Juan Soto and your desire to sign him long term? If Bob Melvin, his manager for a year and a half, would prefer not to have him.
So there's 2 things that I think of when I hear that. One, either Juan Soto is just really hard to manage.
Okay.
Or 2, Bob didn't like the demands from Soto on where to hit in the lineup and where not to hit. I don't know. Like that.
Yeah.
That could be a factor.
Yeah, maybe.
But also I think to myself, maybe this is a little bit of a plant by the organization.
Revisionist history.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a weird thing to think if he truly did think that.
It was fairly commonly known within the organization that Melvin favored moving Soto, like at the trade deadline this offseason.
Like what?
It's to be the manager, you're thinking about like, what's giving me the best chance to win? You're not thinking about the package of players coming back for Juan Soto as a manager. You're not thinking about what you're getting back for Juan Soto. You're thinking about Juan Soto was penciled in 162 times and had a 950 OPS. And Bob Melvin made it known that he'd prefer not to have Soto on the team.
I don't know about that one.
Either do I, but it certainly causes some concern with Juan Soto and locking him up if that's truly how Bob Melvin felt.
Yeah, they trade Juan Soto this offseason. You think the fan base is already not ready to riot? Get ready. You are going to add on to potentially one of the worst off seasons that you've ever had as a general manager.
Well, there's that, but also think about this whole idea that, hey, have the Padres gone to Boris about an extension? Juan Soto doesn't want an extension. You don't even have a manager. You just went 82-80. Like, why would anyone believe that now is the moment Juan Soto wants to be extended? He turned down $440 from the team he won a World Series with. And now he wants this extension with all the payroll's going down. I want the extension. I don't even have a manager. Like, why would now be the time that Juan Soto would want this extension?
So let me ask you this. Hearing Bob today, hearing AJ today, all the reports, everything. Do you think that, and you and I both agree, like, hey, look, Preller's had it's enough. Okay. Time's up.
Right.
You've ruined all your chances. But going into next year, do you think that they could potentially be better off in this situation without all of this drama or not?
Without Melvin or without Soto?
No.
Without drama.
Without drama. Because it felt like the Bob and AJ relationship spun so much drama that trickled to every part of the organization. Not saying that drama won't continue to happen with this Padres team and organization, because guess what? Wherever drama is, AJ Preller is right there behind it. But just with the Bob and AJ thing, like maybe they're better off.
It's interesting because I've made the argument that, like, listen, if you're not all pulling in the same direction, you're only making it harder. It's not impossible. But are we really to believe that in 2024, whomever is the manager, they're all pulling in the same direction? You got Culture Doesn't Matter Machado.
Yeah.
With Mike Schilt, who's, by the way, has Mike Schilt been interviewed for any other job since leaving St. Louis after getting to the postseason the last 3 years?
Let me answer that. No.
And why did Mike Schilt leave St. Louis? Okay, so like you see what I'm saying? And then you have AJ Preller, this 9-year general manager that's never consistently won. What I'm saying is I'm not convinced anything changes just because things keep changing.
But one thing that could change is, to start the year at least, there won't be any drama. Now, drama could easily arise very quickly. They're known to do that in this organization. But at least to start the year, right? Spring training, you're not asking a manager about 1 year left on his deal. You're not, as Bob Melvin said, continuing to talk about a narrative throughout the course of a season. At least to start next season, maybe it's like, hey, we're going to get off to a better foot now than we would if we had Bob still here.
Maybe, until you lose 2 games to the Dodgers in Korea. It's as simple as that.
Until you finish the first month of the season and you're 14-16.
John Ireland, voice of the Lakers. We're carrying Lakers basketball right here on San Diego Sports 760. Home openers tomorrow night. John Ireland joins us next. All right, much more of your reaction, Bob Melvin to the Bay. What's next for the Padres? Plus, on the other side, John Ireland, longtime voice of the Lakers, will join us next.
All right, this update's brought to you by DraftKings. The news of the day: Bob Melvin officially introduced and hired by the San Francisco Giants, leaving the Padres without a manager. AJ Preller will now hire his fifth manager in the last 9 years. Moving over to the World Series, it is now set. The Arizona Diamondbacks beating the Phillies in Game 7 in Philadelphia last night. Rangers, D-backs, Game 1 this Friday in Arlington, Texas. And NFL news of the day: Brock Purdy. He has a concussion, or is in concussion protocol, excuse me. His status for Sunday against the Bengals is now in doubt. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
By the way, Kevin Acey reporting there's another name to keep an eye on regarding the Padres managerial search. We'll share that with you coming up in about 10 minutes. John Ireland with us, though, right now, voice of the Lakers. We've got Lakers basketball for you right here on San Diego Sports 760, beginning tomorrow night with the home opener. Very good game. Suns and Lakers tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6:45. Of course, the Lakers getting underway last night. And, John, we appreciate your time here in San Diego. I wanted to start, as a lot of people start with the Lakers, with LeBron. 29 minutes last night. A year ago, something like 35 or 36 minutes per night. Is the expectation his minutes are going to come down here as he enters whatever season this is now in the NBA?
Yeah, John, they don't really come out and say what the plan is. They only say they have a plan. And I think that plan is to play him about 30 minutes a game. I joke around saying if it was me, I would play him the first 6 minutes of the first quarter, the first, or maybe like the last 6 minutes of the second quarter, first 6 minutes of the third, and then all of the fourth. And then that adds up to 30. They didn't do it exactly that way, but they held him to 29 minutes. He would have played a little more had the game been closer at the end, but I think that's a good number. 29, 30 minutes is what they're going to shoot for.
And if they shoot for that number, 29 to 30 minutes, that means, some of the load's going to be falling on Anthony Davis. And last night, scoring 0 points in the second half. Like that can't happen if you're only going to play LeBron 29, 30 minutes a game. What did you see from Anthony Davis last night? And what was the problem in the second half?
Okay, so to your point, they're going to need to make adjustments when LeBron's not out there. Here's some interesting numbers. When LeBron was on the court last night for the Lakers, the team was +7. They scored more points than Denver by 7. When LeBron was out and AD was in, so take all the minutes in the game where LeBron was on the bench but AD was in the game, they were -19.
Ugh.
That can't happen if they're going to have a big season. And AD was himself in the first half. He played really well, scored 17 points. In the second half, he only took 6 shots. He only took 1 shot in the fourth quarter. And I think they're going to need to figure out a way, and it's not all his fault, but Michael Thompson, who do the games with, says it's mostly his fault, that he's going to need to be more aggressive, particularly when LeBron's not in the game. Now, I'm not going to overreact like a lot. I mean, Stephen A. Smith this morning said, that's why the Lakers are never going to win a championship. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's one game.
Right.
And Anthony Davis is a streaky player. He can't go hot and cold. But he's an elite player, guys. He's like one of the best 10 players in the world. The problem is one of the guys who's clearly better than him and everybody else is Nikola Jokic. So Jokic makes a lot of people look stupid. And last night in the second half, he made the Lakers look stupid. But he does that to everybody. Jokic is just really, really good. The thing you want to think about, too, is with 7.5 minutes to go in that game, it was 94-90 Denver. So all the bad play the Lakers had throughout that whole game, and they did a lot of stuff wrong, and they missed a lot of shots. They were down by 4 with 7.5 to go, and then that's when they cratered. So I don't think they're as far off from solving this puzzle as other people do, but you got to finish strong. You got to play well in the fourth quarter, and they didn't do it last night.
John Ireland's the voice of the Lakers. He's with us right now, Jon and Jim. You can hear Lakers tomorrow night against the Suns. Their home opener at 7 o'clock. Pregame coverage will begin at 6:45. What was the offseason strategy for the Lakers? Coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance, but a series loss to the Nuggets. What were they hoping to accomplish to put themselves in a position where maybe they can avenge that down the road?
2 things. They wanted to get deeper. They wanted to be able to go past 6 or 7 guys, and they did that. They've got 10 guys in their rotation now that can play. And really, they wanted to get a whole training camp for the guys they traded for midseason. Remember, guys, that last year when they traded Westbrook in the middle of the year, all those guys, Jared Vanderbilt and D'Angelo Russell and Rui Hachimura, all those guys came in midseason. So they Austin Reeves really didn't play early in the year, and then he played a lot late. They felt like if they could get a training camp with all those guys, that they would be better. The problem is they opened the season against the best team in the league. Denver is really, really good. I think they're going to be the favorites to win the whole thing again. The Lakers are going to be one of the challengers, but they didn't look much different than they did when they got swept by the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. And the main reason for that is Jokic and Murray look like Jokic and Murray. So Denver's really good. And they're going to get, by the way, guys, they're going to get tested all week. Tomorrow night, Phoenix. I don't know if you guys watched Phoenix take out Golden State last night.
Oh, yeah.
But Phoenix is really good. And then Sunday, we got to play at Sacramento. So it's not a ridiculous prediction to say the Lakers could start 0-3, but that's okay. Last year, they started 2-10, and they made the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
So they're going to get tested right out of the gate, but I think they won 43 games last year. If I had to bet my house on it, I think they'll win more than that this year.
And to that point, John, how do you see the West shaping out?
I think you can make an argument that 9 or 10 different teams could be the number 1 seed. For example, like if I had to pick it, I would put Denver at number 1 because they're the defending champs. And then number 2 is wide open. Could be Phoenix, could be the Lakers, could be the Clippers, could be the Suns. If Zion stays healthy, New Orleans could sneak in there. Sacramento was really good last year. Memphis was a top 4 team last year. Oklahoma City has really improved. So all of a sudden, Warriors, I didn't even mention them. You've got 7 or 8 teams that you could make an argument belong at the top. I think the only team I would feel really, really good about being in the top 4 for sure is Denver. Everybody else is scrambling to get the rest of those those other 7 spots, or if you include the play-in, those other 9 spots. Denver will be a top 4 team. Everybody else is battling for 2 through 10.
John, I'm curious because, okay, I'm a play-by-play guy by trade. You have a daily weekday radio show, right, for Forever, based in Ireland, ESPN LA.
Right. Yeah.
How do you do it? What's the day look like? Seriously, because I know there's a lot of moving parts, right, to make sure this all operates.
Right. The main thing that helps me, guys, is that I don't sleep a lot. I think if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to do this. But my whole life, I mean, my parents used to like freak out when I was 10 years old that I wanted to stay up and watch Johnny Carson and David Letterman and go to bed at 2 a.m. and then get up and go to school at 7. But I've been that way my whole life. So I'm fortunate that I'm not somebody that requires a lot of sleep. And on top of that, I'm lucky that my jobs kind of marry each other.
Sure.
Like we have the Lakers on our station, so I'm on the air during my radio show talking about the Lakers all day, and it rolls right into the game. I'll give you an example. Tomorrow night, I'll do my show from 1 to 4. Then I'll work on the show for the next day and for the next game between like 4 and 5:30. And then I'll walk across the street and knock the game out, and it's lather, rinse, repeat.
Wow.
So it's hard, but it's not as hard because all the jobs kind of mesh together. Does that make sense?
100%, 100%. And again, when it's your passion, right? I mean, it's a lot different. It's a lot easier to do. John, we're looking forward to hearing you as always here on San Diego Sports 760. Again, beginning tomorrow night. We know you already have the game in Denver. We've got tomorrow's game, the home opener at Staples between the Lakers and the Suns, right here on San Diego Sports 760. We hope to do it throughout the season and enjoy the call tomorrow night. And thanks for doing it.
Anytime, boys. And don't freak out if you're a Laker fan. It's one game. Don't listen to Stephen A. Smith.
Everyone's freaking out. Thanks, John.
They are.
John Ireland, voice of. It's so funny how sports fans are. I mean, it's all sports.
My brother's a Lakers fan.
I know.
And
you're freaking out as a Warriors fan probably about last night.
Oh yeah, everybody's freaking out. Everyone's like, sky's falling, one game, but this is gonna be horrible and disaster. And oh my God, Brock Purdy's now out. That was my morning.
Dude, seasons are like, there's so many examples across sports of like slow starts and then like championship caliber seasons. I mean, I don't have them off the top of my head, but it's not like every team that gets off to the greatest start wins a title, or every team that gets off to a bad start doesn't.
Or anybody that has just so
one game is so stupid. I mean, what are we even talking about?
In an 82 game season? Yeah. Stupid.
Even Padres, when they started 0-2, they lost 2 games to Rockies. I think we're like, this might not be it. Like, it's 2 games. Like we were right though.
The Diamondbacks at one point this year had a 3% chance of making the postseason.
Look at them now.
And then the World freaking Series
could win it.
84 wins.
All right. On the other side, we need to still get to the wrap. We'll do that in the 5 o'clock hour. Coming up next, another name to consider on the Padres staff that nobody's talking about as a potential future manager that Kevin Acee is reporting. Plus, call right now if you want to play Trainwreck Radio. First 2 callers are going to be our contestants. The number to call, 844-570-1360. Here's the giveaway. We've got 2 free tickets to Vets Aid, the concert at North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, November 12th. This is with Jeff Lynn's ELO, The War on Drugs, The Flaming Lips, special guest Stephen Stills. More info and tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Call right now if you want 2 free tickets to that. November 12th, the Vets Aid concert, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. 2 free tickets, 844-570-1360. You need to call right now, 844-570-1360. Call right now, plus a name to keep an eye on when it comes to the next Padres manager. That's next. All right, a name to keep an eye on regarding the Padres managerial search, plus Trainwreck Radio. Stay with us. All right, Kevin Acee. I don't know how I missed this. Probably because he published this article while we were on the air. But Kevin Acee writes this regarding who they're going to interview. He's right. Flaherty, we know about. Schilt, we know about. He writes this. It seems likely the team will also interview pitching coach Ruben Niebla.
What?
Who's expressed interest in managing and has a strong rapport with both Preller and the players. Now, Preller today did say that he would not guarantee Ruben Niebla would be back and that the manager would have a strong say in determining the staff for 2024. But Kevin Acee reporting this afternoon that Ruben Niebla is expected to be interviewed as a potential manager for the Padres in 2024.
They lose Ruben Niebla. I feel like that was the first hire that he made after the 2021 season was Ruben Niebla.
Right, before Melvin.
It was almost like he's more important than anything else. The pitching side, getting the right pitching coach in here. I would say also, AJ, it's probably important to get the right hitting coach in here as well. But hey, what do I know? Who cares?
Well, I'm not going to trust whatever they do there because they've had so many of them.
Yeah. I just the notion that, well, hey, Bob wasn't getting the analytics and giving them to the players, and he wasn't taking the analytics that AJ was providing him and using them to the best of his ability. Who says that any analytics that's given to whoever the manager is going to be good enough anyway? Because for the last 9 years, it's not been good enough.
I mean, can you imagine how this plays out? Does AJ walk down there with a piece of paper and say, hey, Bob, here are tonight's analytics. Use them. Like, it's not as simplistic as that.
It's more or less like splits. And it was
splits. But if it's just splits, there's no way these two are splitting over splits. They're not splitting over left-right splits. It's well beyond that. And I don't know what the fracture is over, but it's clearly a fracture at this point. I mean, that's over and done with.
Yeah. And I think after today, we now move on because the season's not going to stop. The Padres aren't going to stop as an organization from playing baseball games.
Jim fact, you can confirm that?
Yeah, I can. Well, okay. Unless we all get hit by a meteor and die.
Or they go on strike or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Then then we're kind of screwed if we all die.
So Padres will have a manager next year, and they will play
unless we all die.
Okay.
Jim fact, we're all screwed if we die.
Yeah.
True. All right, let's play.
We're screwed if we die.
Yep.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Charlie and Johnny. Charlie, you called in first. So you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Go with John today.
Okay, so Charlie's going with John, even though Johnny's also on the phone. Wow. Okay, I like it, Charlie.
Johnny, you get me, all right?
All right.
All right. Love it. Brent, what's today's question of the day?
All right, guys, the Diamondbacks are heading back to the World Series for the first time since 2001. Today's question, name any of the 9 teams that have not appeared in a World Series since 2001. There's been 9 clubs that have not appeared in a World Series since 01. Name them.
All right. Johnny, you are up first. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
Pirates.
The Pirates, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Buccos. Correct.
Did we? I didn't hear that. Did you hear that?
It was very faint.
It was very faint, Brent.
Yeah, but it's correct.
Okay.
Charlie, you're up next.
I didn't have it turned up. I pulled a Jim.
Charlie, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have your lifeline.
Oh, congrats,
Okay.
Charlie.
Congrats, you got it right. No, Charlie, what do you got? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Let's go with the Mariners.
The Mariners. Very good guess.
We've never been to World Series ever.
Ever. Johnny, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
I will go with Orioles.
The Orioles on the list. Charlie, what's your next guess? You do have your lifeline still if you want to use it.
Lifeline me.
Has anyone said, I'm going to go on a limb here, the San Diego Padres?
No one has said that, John. Charlie, do you take that?
No, I have to. Yes, please.
Yes, they have not made the
They
World
haven't
Series.
made the World Series since 2001?
Or 1998.
Right.
Yeah. 2011, by the way, not 2001.
What do you mean?
You said World Series since 2001.
That's because that's the question.
Oh. Johnny, you're up next. What is your final guess? You
Thanks
do
for paying attention.
Yeah. You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
The Rockies.
The Rockies, you got a lifeline. You had a lifeline.
No, they've been in the World Series.
Yeah, 2007.
They had
when
that
won
crazy
like 30
finish.
in a row. And
Yeah.
Matt Holliday never touched home plate.
Right.
Oh. Charlie, you could
Doors
send this,
open for a win.
doors open for a win, but you do not have your lifeline, Charlie. What do you got?
Golly. Let's go the post Billy Bean A's.
The A's
Oakland
for the
A's.
win
Oh.
on the list. Well done.
That's the win? Yeah,
That's the win.
Yeah,
That's it.
Wow.
Team John and Charlie moving on.
Wow.
Where would you have gone with your guess?
Wow. I was going to go either the A's or like the Reds.
Yep.
Twins haven't made it.
Who else, Brent?
Thinking here. The Angels made
There's
it.
only 2.
There's only 2 are missing.
Mm-hmm. One of them isn't in the States.
Oh, Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay. Now you're missing
Vancouver
one.
Grizzlies.
We got one. AL or NL?
NL.
NL? Ooh.
Milwaukee. They've never been to the World
Milwaukee,
Series.
yeah, there we go.
Ever.
Good
Yeah,
job.
they have. They went
84,
82.
84,
They went
83?
82.
82, whatever.
84
They've
the
never won a
82,
World
they lost to the Cardinals.
They've never won a World Series.
84
Yes.
was Detroit, San Diego, bro.
Whatever. But when they went, they were in a different league, right?
Yeah, they went for
Yeah.
the American League. They got
Yeah.
beat by Ozzie Smith and the Cardinals.
All right, congratulations to Charlie. You have won a pair of tickets to Vets Aid. This concert's coming up at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater November 12th. Tickets are available at livenation.com. Next hour, more of your reaction. Bob Melvin, he's gone for the Bay. Where do the Padres go from here? Plus, we're going to get to the wrap. Hour 3 of Jon and Jim. Do not go anywhere. It's next. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. I've been telling you all about my friends over at Windmill Farms. Just there a couple days ago, saw their owner Trevor, saw his family, his mom. He's been telling me for weeks about how his family's been in the grocery business for decades, how they love supporting local businesses. He's been telling me about Mr. G's Salsa, based right here in San Diego. They deliver and stock their amazing salsa weekly at Windmill Farms. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. I've been telling you all about our friends here in San Diego, the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered during your work week. You need to pick up a sandwich card. Your 8th sandwich is free at Windmill Farms. They keep their prices incredibly low. They have amazing sandwiches with high quality ingredients. They pride themselves on keeping those prices incredibly low. And again, with the sandwich card, your 8th sandwich is free. They've got farm fresh produce and meats. They've got an amazing craft beer selection. I've been telling you about the deli. They're centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard, right across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa. Windmill Farms is family owned. They've been serving the San Diego area for over 30 years. By the way, today's a Wednesday, right? That means it's a double ad Wednesday. You'll receive double the savings from last week's ad and this upcoming week's ad as well. They've got specials going on right now, including 99-cent bell peppers, 99-cent gala apples, and much, much more. If you don't live or work near Del Cerro, no problem. You can find Windmill Farms on Instacart, have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep. Check them out at windmillfarmsmarket.com to see those weekly specials and shop local, shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update's brought to you by DraftKings. Of course, you know the news by now. Bob Melvin, he is the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. It was announced today at a press conference in the Bay Area, leaving the Padres. And AJ Preller looking for their fourth manager in their last 5 seasons. Moving over to the World Series that is now set. The D-backs beat the Phillies last night in Game 7. Rangers, D-backs, Game 1 will be this Friday in Arlington, Texas. In NFL news of the day, Brock Purdy has now been put on concussion protocol after he got hit on a 4th down sneak against the Vikings on Monday night. His status for Sunday is now in doubt versus the Bengals. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with Code Sports, because life's more fun when you tune into the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. If you're watching on YouTube, you might notice that Jim is not here, because here's what Jim does. He uses his phone so much that he's always at like 1% battery life. So he's trying to charge his phone, but he knows I won't give him my cord because he always takes it.
The computer that I charge it on is not working.
So the computer that he charges it on, he claims is not working. So you're kind of screwed. Now, I have my cord here. I could, in theory, give it to Jim. I'm just not going to. So his phone's going to die, potentially.
Great. Glad.
Yeah.
Glad the computers we use for are just
Sports Wrap.
Yeah, not working. Great.
Now,
Awesome.
Blame Darnay.
No, you don't have
I
your
will blame
headphones on.
Darnay.
So he's
Darnay,
not
if you're
listening to
listening,
me.
I blame you.
Yeah, he
He's
can't hear
pulling a John. Okay,
What?
I'll wait. You're
What?
pulling a John. You didn't have
Right.
your headphones on, so you're talking over me because you can't hear me.
All right.
Now I forgot what I was going to say
Oh, I'm sorry.
because I had to wait.
My fault.
All right, that was good.
My fault again, everybody.
All right.
It's my fault.
The wrap we're going to get to at 5:30. We did not get to that in the 4 o'clock hour. Of course,
Oh.
the news of the day. What do you have, Brett?
I was just going to ask, if you had to go 45 minutes here without your phone, would it just be like the end of the world?
Pretty close.
No, it wouldn't be the end of the world because that's on my laptop. But I just want my phone because I'm addicted to it.
No doubt. We all are. Okay, so Bob Melvin to the Bay. We all knew that. Was there anything earth-shattering today? Probably not. He got into the dynamic. We played it for you earlier. We can play it again, Brent, if we have it. Melvin on his decision to choose the Giants over the Padres. AJ Preller spoke today as well. Again, nothing earth-shattering. The question, of course, from the Padres' perspective is where do they go from here? But this is what Melvin had to say. He didn't, in his opening statement, address the Padres at all. Didn't mention San Diego.
Interesting.
Didn't mention the Padres. He was immediately asked about his time in San Diego. Why the Giants over the Padres? Take a listen to this.
Look, I really don't want to get too much into the San Diego situation other than the fact that I really enjoyed my time there. Some things transpired last year in a difficult year for the team with high expectations. I think there was a narrative at the end that probably wasn't going to go away with me being on my last year of my contract. And I think as far as that organization goes, it's probably not fair if that narrative continued through, next year. So all things considered, this opportunity came about, and, for all the reasons I stated, this feels like the right one for me. but I very much enjoyed my time in San Diego. It just seems like with a lot of things that were popping up there, it just was time to move on.
I enjoyed my time, but I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there.
A little bit of that, yeah.
I understand what he's saying. The narrative part, it's like, dude, you are part of the narrative, and their narrative isn't like just this fake thing.
What the narrative being Preller and Melvin could not see eye to eye. Because the overarching narrative we're talking about, and that wasn't going to go away if they both returned.
Correct.
Yeah, that they couldn't work together. We kept hearing that.
Yeah, they couldn't work together, and it was a toxic working relationship.
Uneasy truce.
Yep. But also, Bob, like, you're a part of that too. It wasn't just this fake thing. Like, it was real. There's a reason why you're in San Francisco now, not still in San Diego.
Right.
But to his point of like, it wasn't going to work out, and with that quote unquote narrative being what would be the main umbrella for the entire season, unless they won at a very high clip.
Yep.
I do agree that, yeah, this may be best. This may be best for everybody, because it would have been extremely awkward going into spring training next year with Bob Melvin and AJ Preller together, and questions still being asked, and players still wondering how the hell is this going to work, and problems with the front office. Like, it was at a point where the relationship was such on thin ice. It would have blown up next year, I think, no matter what. So to that point, it's a good thing that this is now done with. I hate that he's in San Francisco. If you're a Padres fan, like, if you're a Padres fan, you hate that he's in San Francisco. You hate it. You don't want to see this. This is not what you wanted to see, because if Bob Melvin wins before AJ wins, then it's like doomsday all over again.
And I'm also, and I agree with that, but I'm also not convinced, as most Padres fans aren't, is that whatever's on the other side of Bob Melvin is going to be comparable or better than Bob Melvin. Because we had Andrew Baggerly on earlier, right? He broke this story at The Athletic.
Yeah.
And he said, like, the Giants could not have done better than Bob Melvin. That was the
glowing praise.
That was the belief within the organization. We're not doing better than Melvin. Well, then how are the Padres? Like, you can't sell me. Sometimes in sports, you can sell me on addition by subtraction. When it comes to the manager's chair, when we've gone through, from Andy Green to Jace Tingler, we had these first-time managers, like, please bring someone in with that, leadership quality and that credibility, and they did it, and now they've lost it. Is the other side going to be back to what we had previously, or maybe not? I mean, maybe Mike Schild is comparable from a manager perspective to Bob Melvin. Maybe they look outside and find someone that's comparable to Bob Melvin. But that's a bit of a sales job to me. Like, you're going to have to sell me on Schild is better than Melvin. Here's why. Or this candidate outside is better than Melvin. And here's why. Because it's easy to say right now, the Giants, this had to happen from a San Diego perspective, but it feels like the Giants are the winner.
Of course,
and all the animosity here, the Giants are the winner.
Well, AJ looks horrible in this situation. The Padres look horrible in this situation. Everybody looks bad in this situation. Top down, it's laughing stock, circus, clown show, whatever you want to call it. I do think that whoever they hire, they won't be better than Bob Melvin. That's the negative. The positive, as like I just said, at least you're not going to go into next year with this awkwardness that would have come with Bob and AJ together. I still stand by. I would have preferred to have Bob back, because I think Bob's a good manager. He has his flaws, no doubt about it. But like you just said, I don't know if they're getting anybody better than that. Right. But at the same time, you're bringing back a guy that pretty much can't stand working with AJ Preller for an entire 162 game season. So with that, there's the only positive I could see out of it. And you're going to get a downgraded manager. I don't think Mike Schild is comparable to Bob Melvin, because if he was, he would have been managing already somewhere. And you go into next year with not this awkwardness at spring training like you would have had with Bob, and you see what you can do in the offseason to try to make this team better. But if you trade Juan Soto, I feel like all bets are off there. And you see what happens. But at least next year, we won't go to spring training with this awkwardness of Bob and AJ and that narrative that is true from Bob today. It's talking about the narrative hanging over everybody, and it was time to go. So with that, there's the positive I could see out of it, even though the Padres still look horrible in this situation.
Yeah, and the issue is also, like, to your point, where things got, went from bad to worse, is Andy Martino, SNY, covers both the Mets and the Yankees, reporting today that at the very least, the Padres and Yankees have had a preliminary talk on Juan Soto to the Yankees. And if there is, the Padres could be motivated to move Soto if there's a right deal from San Diego's perspective. So, okay, sure, you lose Melvin. To your point, maybe it can be spun. Okay, it's a manager. He doesn't hit. He doesn't pitch. You lose Soto this offseason, and there is no spinning to be done. So I'm with you. You go into spring training. Hey, you got Mike Schild. Hey, you have Ryan Flaherty. All right, the world
Everybody's
keeps
on the
spinning.
same page. Yay.
But if you go to spring training and you've traded Juan Soto to the Yankees before his age 25 season, and your payroll went from 253 to 199, and you got no Blake Snell, and you have no Josh Hader, and you have no Juan Soto.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to believe that what AJ said today, which is we're trying to bring a championship to the city of San Diego. I don't know about that.
I'm completely against them trading Juan Soto, but if they go out and throw him on the market, no way under any circumstances am I trading for Juan Soto unless I get the top end of whatever deal that I'd be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're AJ, you're asking for the moon and you're not budging because you don't have to trade Juan Soto. The only way you have to trade Juan Soto is if you get marching orders from Peter saying that you need to trade him because I cannot pay him $30 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're AJ, you draw a line in the sand and you say, I'm not crossing that line. I want your 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 prospects or whatever the case may be, right? You're not budging. If you trade Juan Soto, just to trade Juan Soto, again, pie on your face, you are going down the I'm even more of a failure path than what you are now. But if you trade Juan Soto and you get the deal that you want, which is the moon, which is absolutely everything you could possibly get from an organization, I would still hate it, but I could rationalize it and I guess kind of understand it.
I would also say this, like, it'll be remarkable to me if the Padres this offseason extend Juan Soto.
Oh,
that to me is a Houdini act. You're working with Scott Boras.
Good luck.
With a 24-year-old star who's a future Hall of Famer who turned down $440. We're led to believe you're lowering your payroll. And the Padres can come to terms with Juan Soto on a long-term deal to stay. That might be the move of the career of AJ Preller. My point is this. I don't really see it. Like, I don't see it as like the next order of business is extending Juan Soto, because I'm thinking about it from Juan Soto's perspective. You weren't very good this past year. You're going to have another manager next year. What's the hurry? You turned down $440. You really got to sign the deal right now. Scott Boras takes his clients to free agency. So maybe that's another motivating factor, is my point, of at least listening on Soto. It's not like we're led to believe that any day now Juan Soto's about to sign a long-term deal. That's not what we're led to believe.
But the problem is, how does he feel after this past season? Has things changed? Because you have to make the NLCS, everything's sunshine and rainbows and butterflies, and it's like everything's great. Of course I want to stay here. And then you have a disastrous season like this where the manager gets pushed out because he can't work with the general manager. You have a lot of issues in that clubhouse. You have gone on the record and said that you guys have quit in games. Like, you have a clubhouse that has quit at times this past season. You have a culture problem. You have a leader that doesn't think culture matters at all. You got a lot of money tied up in other players. You kind of look at the tea leaves here like, do I even want to stay here?
Well, I wonder if that's what Bob Melvin was asking himself. Like, nobody should know more of what the Padres are capable of other than their manager. You got a really weird situation that played out, and we're never going to get fully to the bottom of it, other than we know this. They couldn't work together because they're not working together.
Right.
Kevin Acee today, and we read this earlier, Kevin Acee today saying this is a direct quote, it was fairly commonly known within the organization that Melvin favored moving Soto. What? Like, okay, the Preller Melvin thing, okay, I get it. There were issues. There was something at play that couldn't be resolved. Okay, understood. It happens with human beings. But what do we not know about Juan Soto that Bob Melvin knows about Juan Soto that Bob Melvin would want Juan Soto to be moved?
First off, you're not the general manager. You're not
True.
anywhere near the front office, right? Like a lot of times it's okay. The manager gets the players that the general manager gives them, and then they talk about how to do this or whatever. I'm sure a lot of managers have input, right? At the end of the day, it's like, hey, I need a bullpen arm. Can you give me a bullpen arm? Hey, I need a first baseman. Can you give me a first baseman type of thing? Not a hey, I have
Soto.
I have a suggestion, AJ. We should move Juan Soto. What?
That could be a pretty philosophical difference considering AJ Preller moved heaven and earth to get Juan Soto.
Yeah. Now, is he going to move heaven and earth to trade Juan Soto or try to move heaven and earth to sign Juan Soto?
Yeah, good question.
It's going to be something that's going to be very interesting. And I frankly, don't want to think about a 2024 Padres team right now without Juan Soto. 2025 will come, and I think I and a lot of people have braced themselves knowing that, hey, there's a 3-year window with Soto, right? Once the 3-year window's up, you have to accept it if he doesn't come back because that's what it was. But if he's not here in 2024, and you only got 2 years of Juan Soto and 1 playoff run when AJ Preller proclaimed we brought him here for 3, ooh, that's a even worse look.
Remember the Harper and Castellanos' personal Colorado sweatshirts from a week or two ago?
Yeah.
In the previous round?
Worked for them that round.
If you're the Padres and you don't use this as ammunition, fuel, to motivate you, that your manager walked away from you for them. And he's not walking to a situation where it's clear that there's a better roster in San Francisco.
He's not going to the Braves.
Exactly. He's going to San Francisco. There's maybe some reasons as to why he was, raised in the Bay Area. But like he chose them, your division rival, over us. He chose them with the lower payroll over us. Like they didn't take anything as a slight a year ago. We talked about that repeatedly. The Padres have to be motivated heading into 2024. Is there any better motivation than that? He chose whomever is on the Giants roster over Manny and Soto and Tatis and Bogarts and Musgrove and Darvish. Man, that's an indictment on you guys.
And
That's
sweet
how you should be
beloved
looking at
Hassan
it.
Kim.
Yeah, like you should be looking at like, yo, us in here, we should take that as a slight. Let's use that as motivation.
Yeah, I don't really see like Manny doing that.
Well, it's amazing to me. I would. And my under contract manager left us for another team in the division. Why?
You know why I don't see Manny doing that?
Because of Preller?
Because it's baseball.
Oh, it's just baseball. Right.
It's just baseball.
Maybe.
It's baseball. Yeah. Can we have a little more fire here?
That's what I'm saying. They need some more urgency.
More urgency to start the next season.
AJ said it today.
Like F you guys type of mentality, urgency, right?
Is that why they're going to hire Mike Schild, who just has curse-laden rants in the postseason to like take out other teams? Is that going to work for 162 with 30-year-old veterans? Like, is that game play? It worked in St. Louis, I guess.
Well, it doesn't work when Manny Machado has curse-laden rants.
Why was Mike Schild let go? Isn't that like a huge elephant in the room? Hey, Mike Schild's the next manager of the Padres. Why was he let go from the Cardinals? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But that, to me, would be a big question I'd ask before I hired him as the next manager. I'm sure they know the answer when they hired him as an advisor.
It's a weird, not fun time here if you're a Padres fan. It's just not. It feels like whoever they hire, the excitement that everybody had when they hired Bob Melvin is going to be the complete opposite.
Man, that was exciting times.
It's I think the Jace Tingler hire after Andy Green was a lot of like, who the hell is that? And it was a lot of confusion,
skepticism,
confusion, and then as soon as he said he's managed a bunch of games in mine, you're like, oh God, here we go.
That was an amazing line.
This hire, whoever it is, if it's anybody, if it's Mike Schilt, I feel like it'll be like, okay, not really excitement, not really disappointment, still mad at AJ for everything and Bob and this past season, but I don't feel like it would be like a, oh my God, are you serious type of reaction. I do think if Ryan Flaherty is hired, it will be a lot of eye rolls like, oh my God, another first-time manager. here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's a rando that nobody's heard of before, then you'll start seeing pitchforks be taken out by the fan base, even though they're already being taken out.
You know, again, the Schilt thing. Remember the Schilt thing a year ago with the Giants? That
oh yeah,
I didn't
forget about that.
And by the way, which Schilt took very personally, if you recall, because remember there was an apology to the coach.
It was the third base or first base coach for the Giants. Mike Schilt yelled at him, and he claimed there was undertones of racism.
Correct.
From Mike Schilt towards, I forget his name.
Richardson was the last name.
Okay.
Antoine Richardson.
Antoine Richardson, the first base coach for the Giants.
He spoke about it afterwards, but then Schilt was beside himself that that's how Richardson took it. That remember they like met on the field.
They had a
an
little
embrace
press conference. They like hugged and everything. And Schilt said he felt horrible.
But remember, if nothing else, he was cursing out the Giants' third base coach. And he said it was nothing beyond that. He was just, but again, is that what they need? That's the urgency. You just need someone with curse-laden tirades. That's the cure-all.
Using racial undertones.
And forget, you know what?
I don't forget that.
That part of it wasn't really the point, other than I've seen Schilt in clubhouses because we've seen some of the videos.
Yeah.
I know this story from when he was with the Padres. I know he was fired from the Cardinals' philosophical differences. I'm just saying, I don't know if he's the perfect candidate. Maybe he is.
And I don't consider him to be like a yes man, because the notion is, oh, well, AJ's is going to hire another yes man. I don't view Mike Schilt as a yes man. I view Mike Schilt as a guy that is not a good fit for AJ, because AJ needs that Jace Tingler type of person. And it didn't work with Tingler because it was so like Preller's Preller dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And the clubhouse saw right through it, and they saw this guy who had no idea what he was doing and had no respect from anybody in the clubhouse. And you hire another first-time guy, it's like that's Preller's MO. So if you hired Mike Schilt, he's not a first-time manager. He pushes back. He's kind of fiery. He got let go of his last job for philosophical differences with their general manager. He has his own ideas, his own way of thinking. He has a little bit of a track record, better than anything that Preller has accomplished. Well, maybe not better, but you get my point. Doesn't really seem like that's the prototypical AJ manager, right? Even though they might actually hire him.
I really don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. I don't know if you're led to believe it's Schilt or it's Flaherty.
Mike Schilt, come on down.
I really haven't, because like Kyle Glaser said earlier, like he's a complete wild card. He could go in any direction with this thing.
Well, when in doubt, don't look outside the organization. Keep it in-house and keep your circle tight, and don't look at anybody with new ideas from other organizations. Just do the same thing over and over again and elevate from within.
I'm just reading this article from the Richardson Schilt circumstance in 2022, and this was a bizarre thing as well.
Yeah.
All right. On the other side, we're gonna get to the wrap. Plus, coming up this hour, Jim's back page. Stay with us. All right, the wrap on the other side plus Jim's back page. Stay with us.
This update's brought to you by DraftKings. Bob Melvin's the new manager in San Francisco for the Giants. He was announced and introduced today in the Bay Area, leaving the Padres with another managerial search. It's the 5th time in AJ Preller's tenure that he's looking for a manager. Moving over to the World Series that is now set. Friday, Game 1 in Arlington, Texas, between the Rangers and the D-backs, who beat the Phillies last night in Game 7 in Philadelphia. And NFL news of the day, Brock Purdy has been put into concussion protocol. His likely status is in doubt now for Sunday's game for the Niners versus the Bengals. I hate my life. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with Code Sports, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, when you say 5th time looking for a manager, who the previous 4 are? 5th time going through a search.
So fired Buddy Black. Okay. Hired Pat Murphy for half a year. So that's like, I guess, 1. Andy Green.
No, Pat Murphy was on the staff, right?
Yeah, but still, that was a managerial.
That wasn't a search.
Okay, fine. Are we going to not use
no
half a year as an interim manager as a manager?
Well, not a search, would you?
Okay, fine. 4 then.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think it's 5. I think it's 4. I think that's
like it makes a difference. Who cares?
Well,
it's still a lot.
I mean, it's 4. It's a difference between 5.
Well,
it's 4.
Well,
it's just like this is also
it'll probably be 5 in a couple years anyway.
Could be. Since 2015, his first year in charge, no team has had as many coaches or managers as the Padres. 30.
Yeah.
Coaches or managers. There's no team since 2015 has had as many as the San Diego Padres. That's the point. And that's the stability.
That's the MO of the team, is cycling through managers left and right.
Yeah.
And coaches mostly, hitting coaches every year.
That's half of them.
Yeah. That's AJ Preller's MO. That's the reputation of AJ Preller. And that's who AJ Preller is it's weird how he can just never find the right people. Like, there's people that leave organizations, and there are people that leave jobs all the time. But when you go through this much turnover in a 9-year window going on to 10 years, at what point are you like, maybe what I'm doing here isn't really working?
That's probably a better question for Peter.
Well, Peter is blinded.
Than AJ, because again, AJ is not going to get rid of himself. All right, Jim's back page is still ahead. Right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Will the next Padres manager last more than 2 years?
No. The longest tenure manager in Padres history is Andy Green.
Under Preller.
Under Preller. Under Preller. That's the main caveat here. Under Preller, the longest tenure manager is Andy Green. And he was here for a rebuild that I don't know if it really has turned to fruition yet.
Right.
But that's crazy to me that Andy Green is the longest tenured manager under AJ Preller, which was only four seasons?
4 seasons. 16, 17, 18, 19.
Well, yeah. And he got fired at the end of 19 before the season ended.
With how many? A couple of games left? Who took over?
Rod Barajas.
Yeah, with a couple of games left. I think the next manager is unlikely to last more than 2 years because of the instability within the organization. Plus, I'm not convinced AJ Preller's here long term. I'm really not. They have to win in 2024. So I'd say it's more likely than not that the next Padres manager is not a 3-year manager. I could see it absolutely being a 1 or 2 year job.
I think, honestly, John, for the remaining, 2023? The remaining 3 years on his deal until 2026, I feel like he has to win every year. You can't miss the postseason again under your contract. Under your current contract, this team can't miss the postseason again. They just can't.
That's maybe. I mean, I think if they made it in 24 and 25, if he missed in 26, I don't know. Maybe, potentially. He has to make it in 24.
Has to
make it in 24.
And we want them to make it. We want to be talking postseason baseball. Look what the Arizona Diamondbacks just did. 84 wins.
Yep.
Just get in.
Yes, exactly. What I've said for 2 years.
Regular season does matter. April games do matter. But at the same time, getting in now is the most important thing.
Way more important than anything else. 90 wins, divisions. It doesn't matter.
And with the expanded postseason, John, and the players you have on your roster and the money you're spending, I do think it's you have to make it the next 3 years. And if you don't make it 1 year, then you're gone.
It's possible. Next question.
Would losing pitching coach Ruben Niebla be a bigger loss than Bob Melvin?
I could definitely argue that. I could definitely argue that because Ruben Niebla is pretty much like a pitching whisperer. He was dubbed that in Cleveland. He was the first hire of AJ Preller after they fired Jay Tingler in that whole crap situation. So, yeah, I would say Ruben Niebla is more important than Bob Melvin. Not saying Bob Melvin wasn't important because I think managers do play an important role. Yeah, it's you lose Ruben Niebla.
You got problems.
Yeah, problems.
So he's under contract through 2024. That doesn't guarantee he'll be back because the staff will be determined by Preller and the manager, presumably. And he's going to be interviewed, according to Kevin Acee, for this manager's job as well. I mean, losing Melvin is one thing. Losing Niebla is just as big of a problem, if not more of an issue for the Padres. It feels like their pitching coach situation has been really good the last 2 years under Ruben Niebla. We don't want to see that change, I wouldn't think, from a Padres perspective. Next question.
Would you guys take the Nuggets or the Field to win the NBA title this year?
I'll go Field because I think there's the gap between the Nuggets is there's not this like massive gap. I feel like the Bucks, the Celtics. I know the Lakers got their ass kicked, not like their ass kicked last night, but they lost. There's still the Suns who won last night. The Warriors, if they could be healthy and hit some shots, maybe. Yeah, I don't think the gap is huge. So I'm taking the Field.
Yeah, I would take the Field. I mean, yeah, the Nuggets aren't some historically good team. They were really good last year in the postseason, but it's not like it's the second year of Jokic. It's like they've been good before and they'd struggled in the postseason before. Plus, you're overly reliant on making sure he stays healthy. Yeah, I would take the Field, knowing still the Nuggets are probably one of the best teams in the NBA. Next question.
Has baseball's regular season been devalued by the new playoff format?
Yeah, because the last 2 years, the 6th seed has made the World Series in the National League. Last year with the Phillies, this year with the D-backs. D-backs won 84 games. Phillies last year, I think, won 86 or 5.
Yeah, something like that.
And they made the World Series. It's baseball's entering a weird time where divisions don't matter as much, and I feel like they should, because winning a division and winning 100 games, and baseball is a marathon, not a sprint, should matter. But the last 2 years in the National League, it hasn't, which is, I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing because I don't view it like that, but it's how the sport's now played.
Okay, a couple of things. This is what they wanted. This is everything that Major League Baseball wanted. It was negotiated in the last CBA. They wanted 7 teams in each league. They only got 6. That's all the players would agree to. This is exactly what baseball wants, and they're getting what they wanted. Now, traditionalists or those that follow the sport for a long time might feel as if it's been devalued, but I've told you for 2 years, this is now what baseball is. It's very similar to the NFL or the NBA. Like, you don't have to go 14-3 to win a Super Bowl. Play good football at 11-6, win a couple of road games, you can still be in a Super Bowl. So this is what they wanted, and this is why I've said repeatedly for 2 years, I don't care if the Padres win 90 games. I don't care if they win a division. I care if they get in and give themselves a chance to win. They didn't do that last year. That's a failure. They need to get in next year. I don't care what seed they are. I could care less if they win the division. What I care about is them getting in, like the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, and giving themselves a chance to win a World Series.
I don't know if it devalues it, because it, is it the format's fault that, we have a 100-win team that can't beat a 6 seed?
There's that too.
They need to still do what needs to be done. But yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it. Everyone's kind of lumping back into this narrative that they like to do with there's an N-word again, narrative of all sports about how, if the final isn't LA versus New York, then it's a disaster and nobody's going to care and nobody wants to watch it, because it doesn't matter if it's NBA or anything. If it's not LA versus New York, there's no way that Phoenix, if the NBA or something, Phoenix and Milwaukee, they could never have a good series because they're not New York and LA. And it's just like, let's let it play out and see. They could have the greatest World Series ever, and you're going to automatically disqualify them because they're a 6 seed. Show some love for an underdog.
So I have the formula for the Padres next season. Not only just get in at all costs, but make sure you play the Milwaukee Brewers. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because the team that goes to the Brewers goes to the World
Washington
Series.
did it.
Because every team to beat the Brewers in the postseason in their history has advanced to the World Series. 1981 Yankees, 82 Cardinals, 08 Phillies, 11 Cardinals, 18 Dodgers, 19 Nationals, 2020 Dodgers, 2021 Braves, and then 2023 D-backs.
That's the play.
It won't be the 82 Cardinals because they were in a different league. They played in the World Series that year.
Yeah, but
okay,
you beat the Brewers in the postseason. You're probably more often than not. Actually,
tell AJ, send him an email.
Make sure you face the Brewers.
Maybe hire Craig Counsell then.
Well, yeah, because that year when Washington beat him and won the World Series, that was why we have Trent Grisham.
Yeah,
exactly, because that was when that ball went under his glove.
100%.
I love that idea. Make sure at all costs you face the Brewers next postseason, because if you beat the Brewers, guess what? You're going to the World Series.
My at all costs is get in, but don't win the division, because you don't want that bye. Jim's back page next. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. We've been telling you, I think Jim said it yesterday on his back page or 2 days ago, San Diego is now the most expensive city in America to live in. So if you need cash to pay off those credit cards or do home improvements, I'm so excited to tell you about the newest, fastest, easiest way to do it, to get the equity out of your home. Loan Pronto is here with their revolutionary Express Equity line of credit. It's an amazing program. You can get cash out of your home in as fast as 5 days, and you can leave that 3% mortgage intact. Loan Pronto can pull $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 out of your record high home value. That's money you can use to pay off those credit cards with those crazy rates of 25% or more, or use the money to do a home improvement, maybe add some solar panels. Best part, 9 out of 10 homeowners won't need an appraisal. The fact is this: rates are too high to move to a new home. You can still use your existing equity by converting it into cash. You can be credit card debt free. It's your money. You just need an easy way to get it. Call now. See how easy it is to get a lot of cash in about 5 days. Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit, 619-207-4336. LoanPronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Write this number down: 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Final time on Jon and Jim. We're back tonight on YouTube if you want to join us. The wrap-up show, 9:30 p.m. Talking about, well, this. Everything we've talked about for the last 3 hours. Melvin.
Yeah.
Manager. Soto.
Jim
Uncensored
sunglasses.
version.
Yeah, Jim sunglasses will probably come up as well.
Might cuss a few times.
Yeah.
Sorry, people.
You probably will.
People don't like when I cuss.
No, so I think most people do. It's more like the minority, like that loud minority of people.
Yeah. True.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. That's just how I talk, man.
You do, but you don't on the radio.
I don't on the radio.
The only person that's been 8 seconds delayed or whatever is me.
I've gotten mad
a lot.
I've gotten mad. Yeah, you've cussed more than me on the radio.
Correct.
There was one time that I feel like I blurted out something that I shouldn't have.
On the radio?
On the radio. Like on this show, Jon and Jim.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I can't repeat it, but I remember because Brent, I looked over at Brent, he shook his head and he hit the dump button.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't realize that. Do you remember that, Brent?
No. I do that a lot, though.
Not remember?
Well, no.
Hit the dump button?
Hit the dump button and don't remember why.
Have you hit the dump button a lot over the roughly 2 years of this show? Sometimes with callers, maybe.
More for you than the callers.
More for me than
More
the
for you.
caller. It's probably happened 2 or 3 times a minute.
Yeah.
What
at
was it? What did I
least.
say? That I couldn't
John
say?
on
You
the
called-
radio
You called someone an a-hole.
called
one
me
day.
an a-hole.
That's how I felt.
No, you were referring to, yeah, dude, people on social media, they just blatantly call Jim an a-hole.
There's something else I said once in the fusion. I think it was the same
But
word.
yeah, you did a-hole twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. You can't say that?
No,
What can you say anymore?
not a lot.
Thought this was America.
All right, let's get to it.
America. So yesterday, and maybe it's a couple days ago,
Okay.
because he talked about game 6 and 7. We haven't talked about this yet
That was like 2 days ago, yeah.
because it was on his radio show.
What an idiot.
And he said he was going to retire if the D-backs went into Philadelphia and won game 6 and 7 to go to the World Series. Well, guess what happened? They won game 6 and they won game 7. And today, Mad Dog was on First Take. He was on his radio show. And to start his radio show, there was silence. And it was like, oh, did he really? He was on High Heat as well. And Alana Rizzo, she actually gave him a bunch of crap for it. He's not retiring.
Oh, she should be talking.
No, she's the last person to talk.
Right.
But
he didn't retire.
Didn't retire.
What did he say? Like,
Soft.
my bad?
No, he's like, retire my ass. He goes, I was speaking. I think his official excuse was I was speaking out of turn.
Okay.
That's a bad look. Right. I mean, you first of all,
Well, no,
first off,
because we've been there.
but I've never said I'll retire if I get this wrong. I've said stupid stuff like I'll eat a shoe or I'll eat something or whatever. And I rarely, there was never a point where I was getting so much criticism for like, you got to do this, you got to do that, other than the delete my Twitter. But if you look at it, it was completely different days. I talked about Manny Machado hitting a walk-off, so that didn't count.
But you know how you could get caught saying something.
Absolutely.
It's so easy.
Yeah. Like the other day, I remember I said to you and Darnay that I would, if Bob Melvin returned this season to the Padres, I would drive alone to Philadelphia to get Arita's ice for both of you, drive it back, and give it to you guys.
You said that on air.
I did.
You said off
True,
air.
Brent.
By the way, he said off air.
Kind of cooler in my phone.
You would get an SDFC logo, I think, if they win like the MLS Cup.
When did I say that?
Off air.
Didn't count.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I agree. No, that's what I'm saying. That's fine. Why? Is there something wrong with that?
No, but you can't just pull something I said off air on air like that.
You didn't say like,
you're like, hey, remember we said this off air about this person? Like,
no,
that's because I said it was off air.
That's not comparable to getting a tattoo of an SDFC logo.
But it's still the same concept of, hey, you said this off air. Now I'm bringing it to air.
Okay, that's my bad then.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Because I was trying to make another comparison. You've brought things I've said off air to on air. I'm pretty sure.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
You have more than I have.
This
It's
wasn't
not
a
like
bad
you
one.
spilled the beans on triplets or anything.
Oh,
True.
yeah, that's right.
That's not bad to say, okay, an SDFC logo if they win the MLS Cup.
In their first season, I think I said.
Exactly.
Oh, we're done?
Give us one more real quick.
Well, now Taco Tuesday trademark can be used nationwide.
That's crazy.
After the restaurant that currently had the trademark relinquishes its claim. I know Taco Bell and LeBron James were putting a hard campaign together to get Taco Tuesday released. So now Taco Tuesday can be used.
All right, maybe we'll use that. Every Tuesday on Jon and Jim.
Taco Tuesday.
Very creative and original.
Yeah.
Very creative. All right, join us tomorrow, 3 p.m. We're going to be downtown, the top of the key Aztec men's basketball ring ceremony. We're going to be joined by a lot of San Diego State guests tomorrow, including Brian Dutcher, also Reese Waters, and others. Jaden Ledee will join the show tomorrow right here on Jon and Jim. All right, if you missed anything, you know where to go, I think. Find us on social media at Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. For Brent and Jim, I won't do that again, Jim. I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Hey, remember when you were talking about that